Hello, my name is Colm Willis. I'm a small business lawyer from Staten, and I'm running to be your next congressman. Because like many people, I believe we've been left behind by our leaders in Washington, D.C. My wife and I, we raise our daughters in a 100-year-old home in Staten. My youngest daughter is 1, and my oldest daughter is 3. When I went to law school, I worked full-time in order to support my family. My wife works as a nurse, so we've had to juggle childcare, and I own my own small business, and have had to work through all the headaches that come with that. I have no personal animosity for my opponent, Kurt Schrader, but there are real differences between us when it comes to public policy. He voted for and supports Obamacare, which has caused our health insurance premiums to skyrocket. I oppose it. He supports the nuclear agreement with Iran, which provided the largest state sponsor of terrorism in the world with over $100 billion. I think that was a mistake. And he supports the latest trade agreement, which will ship more of our jobs overseas. I'm against it. As I've traveled the district, many of the people who I meet are increasingly cynical about our leaders in Washington. And I don't blame them. Frankly, our leaders haven't been honest with us. Our leaders say that we have full employment. But all you have to do is drive through the district and see all the empty buildings where businesses used to be to know it's not true. There are hundreds of thousands of Oregonians that our government counts as fully employed, but who are forced to rely on food stamps in order to feed their families at the end of every month. And our leaders say we don't have any significant inflation. But when it comes to the basic necessities of our lives, housing, health care, education, our costs have skyrocketed. Kurt says that Congress is not as dysfunctional as people think, but I guess it depends on your perspective. 8 years ago, when Kurt Schrader first took office, our average income was higher than it is today. A higher percentage of Oregonians had jobs. Fewer Oregonians were on food stamps. Our health care costs were lower. Our traffic wasn't as bad. And we still had a port where our small businesses could ship goods out of state. During the time that Kurt Schrader's been our congressman, our income has dropped. Our jobs have disappeared. Our schools have stagnated. Our health care costs have skyrocketed. Our traffic's gotten worse. And our small businesses have closed. So maybe from his perspective in D.C., Congress seems functional. But for many people here at home, Congress hasn't been effective at all. In fact, a lot of what Congress has done has been harmful. Kurt says that he's a bipartisan problem solver. But the truth is, on every major issue of consequence, he votes with his party bosses in D.C. The stimulus, cap and trade, Obamacare, the Iran deal, the latest trade agreement. He was an early endorser and superdelegate for Hillary Clinton, who is one of the most corrupt presidential candidates we have ever had. And what's particularly notable about this is that Kurt didn't reluctantly support her once she became the nominee. He endorsed her a year ago. Hillary Clinton was his first choice to be our next president. But more importantly, he stopped being an advocate for you. For the first 6 years that he was in Congress, every year he would come home and tell us how important it was that he was on the Agriculture Committee, because agriculture is such an important part of our economy here in the 5th District. And you know what? He was right. It is important. But just last year, he left that committee, and he says it's because the Farm Bill was completed and his job was done. But I can tell you the farmers here in the district aren't buying it, and many of them are supporting me. Because they know that right now there's talk of a 2017 Farm Bill, and they know that not having a seat at the table means that Iowa and California, Texas and New York will dominate the conversation at the expense of our farmers here in Oregon. I'm a Republican, but I'm an Oregonian first. And if the Republican Party or my leaders in Congress are pushing something that's going to hurt you and your family, I'm going to fight against it. There are times when party loyalty asks too much. My first loyalty is to you, my friends and neighbors here in Western Oregon. I'm not perfect, but I promise I will always tell you the truth, even if it hurts my election or embarrasses my party. Because you're free men and women and citizens of this great country. At the very least, you deserve a congressman who tells you the truth. And there may be times when we disagree on something. Most of the time, I think we will agree. But even when we disagree, you will always know that I'm doing everything in my power to stand up for you in Congress. So if you think that your life is better today than it was 8 years ago, if you think that Obamacare has lowered your health care costs and helped your small business, if you think the Iran deal has made us safer and that the new trade deal is not going to destroy jobs here in Western Oregon, and that Congress is really doing a pretty good job, then you should vote for Kurt Schrader. But if you feel left behind, and if you think that you deserve a congressman who fights for you and your family every day, just like you do, then I need your vote. My name's Colm Willis, and I'm running to be your next congressman.